And we're kicking off with Raw, and for a moment it appeared that Jinder Mahal was going to dethrone World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins in a testament to Triple H's booking of the match. This angle-laden match had the game creatively stacking screwy spots on top of one another to give the impression that the unthinkable may happen for the second time in WWE history. There was the arrival of Damian Priest, as well as the presence of Drew McIntyre and their brawl to set up next week's main event of Raw. Incessant cheating of Indi, including a spot right out of Mahal's first title victory over Randy Orton that had fans nervously counting along until Rollins shot his shoulder off the mat at 2. Ultimately, the Visionary overcame it all and delivered the stomp for the win, popping the crowd and bringing a satisfactory conclusion to a match that was far more dramatic than it had any right to be. A match fans would have considered a squash just a few weeks ago instead had one of the biggest big fight feels we've seen in a long time, proof that WWE can make anyone a big deal. Rollins may have ended the night with the gold, but he didn't walk away without an injury, as the champion was seen favoring his knee during the latter stages of the match. Reliable insider BWE tweeted Rollins may have tweaked his knee and was helped to the back following the end of Raw, but in an update said that he was okay, which comes as a relief. Rollins doesn't have a clear direction heading into Royal Rumble 2024, with his win over Jinder Mahal being quite definitive, but Damian Priest might be a potential opponent for Seth. Then again, it seems like Senior Money in the Bank will feud with Drew McIntyre, as Priest was poised to cash in and become champion on Raw before McIntyre showed up and stopped him. It'll be interesting to see what happens next with Priest, who has his hands full with R-Truth and DIY on Raw, as well as the teases of cracks in the Judgment Day. As for Rollins, his selling of the knee was excellent, continuing the narrative that his quest to be a fighting champion may ultimately be the undoing of the World Heavyweight Champion. The last time fans saw Brock Lesnar in the ring, it was back at SummerSlam 2023, where he lost to Cody Rhodes, and Lesnar didn't compete at the Crown Jewel event as many predicted. Now it appears that Brock Lesnar's break will be over soon, as Dave Meltzer reports that the plan is for the Beast to return at the Royal Rumble event. With Lesnar not announced yet, it's likely that Brock will be part of the Men's Royal Rumble match, and who do you want the Beast to face next in WWE? In the weeks running up to Hard to Kill, it was reported that Trinity would be finishing her time with TNA soon and that she'd be returning to WWE as part of the Women's Royal Rumble match. In an update though, PW Insider has learned that Trinity has several TNA dates ahead and didn't finish up her time at Hard to Kill, and these dates should keep her from a Rumble return. Morale within TNA is said to be soaring after the Hard to Kill event, and while Trinity lost the Knockouts title at the show, her time with TNA isn't over just yet. During last week's SmackDown, a match between Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory was called off after a botched move that saw Theory land squarely on his head, worrying fans. After the match, WWE said that both superstars had suffered facial contusions due to the spot, and we now have an update on the former US champion. Brian Alvarez provided an update on Wrestling Observer Radio, suggesting that Austin Theory is now in medical protocol, suggesting he may have been more significantly affected than first thought. As for Hayes, there's no update on his condition at this time, but considering Theory's situation, no news is good news for the popular former NXT champion. This was a scary spot for two of WWE's fastest rising superstars at this time, and we are wishing Theory and Hayes all the best after this unfortunate situation. Cody Rhodes kicked off this week's Raw, and as he spoke about his reasons for returning to WWE, Drew McIntyre interrupted and talked about the similarities in their respective careers. McIntyre added that he will finish his story before Rhodes gets the chance to finish his, though Cody said anyone could win the Men's Rumble and name-dropped Jey Uso and CM Punk. After shrugging off McIntyre's assumptions about his act, Rhodes said that he is relishing his second chance in WWE, while McIntyre continues to complain. Rhodes finished off by saying he'll give McIntyre something to complain about before taunting him about beating him in a WCPW singles match before McIntyre returned to WWE. Cody's attention was on McIntyre this week, but next week he'll come face-to-face with CM Punk, after Punk challenged him to do so via an Instagram post. That post had text stating, "I think it's time you asked me what I want to talk about," and after taking the wrestling world by storm, WWE have confirmed this face-off for next week's show. The last time these two wrestled saw Punk lose to Rhodes via countout on the December 29th, 2008 Raw. And while next week's face-off likely won't lead to a match, we'll have to see what both say. More from Raw now, as this week's show saw the debut of a brand new stage and lighting structure around the ring, indicating potential changes to how Raw will be presented going forward. WWE has consistently upgraded its production over the years, and these changes appear to be the next step in enhancing the visual experience for fans. While these changes were made for Raw, it's common for changes to one show to affect another, so we'll have to see if similar changes are made to the SmackDown stage or production this Friday. More from Raw, as DIY moved closer to a shot at the undisputed tag titles as they picked up a win over Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough. This well-paced match saw the heels dominate before the babyfaces fought their way back in thanks to Ciampa's hot tag, and after sending Mysterio to the floor, flattened JD to get the win. The idea of DIY challenging Priest and Balor for the tag titles is mighty appealing, especially if they're given considerable television or premium live event time. Backstage, Rhea Ripley was none too pleased with Mysterio for the team's loss, and it was up to Senior Money in the Bank to try and smooth things over. JD McDonough took exception to Priest telling R-Truth he was allowed to sell knockoff Judgment Day merch if he kept it on the down low, and told Truth not to tag in later in the night. The Judgment Day has dominated like few factions have, but it's undeniable that cracks are showing, as we may be seeing the last days of the group. Fans saw the awesome Truth in action on Raw to face the Judgment Day, although there was some mid-bout confusion as Truth thought he was in the Judgment Day. Although he was teaming with The Miz, Truth came out with the heels, though it didn't seem like they noticed the hilarious veteran with them. Truth dropped a bunch of cash in the ring, which was Finn Balor's cut of the merch sales, and this all led to Miz questioning his partner before going to the ring apron. With Truth as the legal man, Balor leveled him with a clothesline and stomped on Truth, who'd fight back with a knee to the midsection before Damian Priest tagged in. Later in the match, Truth hit Finn with a scissor kick and took out JD McDonough, who was on the apron, and when he went to hit Priest, Mr. Money in the Bank urged him not to. Priest played up Truth wanting to be in the Judgment Day, but with Truth confused, Priest leveled him with the South of Heaven before Balor picked up the win. Amidst this chaos, Priest seemed concerned about what he'd done, and do you think Truth will ever be officially a Judgment Day member? Let us know below. Raw saw Becky Lynch confront Rhea Ripley just 1 week after Nia Jax made it clear she planned on challenging the Eradicator down the line. On this week's show, Ripley expressed her frustration with Jax and others running their mouths, calling the women's division theirs, and issued a warning to whichever woman wins the Rumble. Ripley advised the future winner not to squander their opportunity by facing her, which is when Lynch's music hit, and spoke about the similarities and differences that their roads to the top share. Despite the lingering notion that Ripley might be better, Lynch boldly declared her intention to prove otherwise and declared for the Women's Rumble and said she'll face Ripley at WrestleMania. Ripley relished the threat, saying she's rooting for Becky to win the Royal Rumble before exiting the ring, and stating she'll see Lynch at WrestleMania, ending an intensity-heavy segment. The chemistry between the two was off the charts, and this felt like the start of a main event-worthy feud that will lead into one of the most anticipated WrestleMania 40 matches. As for whether Lynch will win the Rumble, it's possible, although SmackDown's Bayley has more momentum behind her based on the impending feud with her Damage Control allies. It'll be interesting to witness whether Lynch can achieve the milestone of becoming the first woman to win 2 Rumbles, and what did you make of this segment? Sound off in the comments. During his heyday in the ring, Hulk Hogan was seen as a real-life superhero to his young fans, and this past weekend, the Hulkster proved to be a real-life hero for one unfortunate young woman. TMZ reports that Hogan, his wife Skye, and a friend were driving along a Clearwater, Florida highway on Sunday night when they witnessed a terrifying car accident play out in front of them. The car involved in the crash swerved erratically across lanes, attempting to make a last-minute exit, but this erratic maneuver resulted in a collision with another vehicle, causing it to flip over. Hogan and his friend, a former U.S. Marine, immediately gave assistance as they approached the 17-year-old driver still trapped in the car, who was clearly shaken by what had happened. Despite the challenging circumstances, Hogan and his friend effectively rescued the woman from the vehicle, and Hogan and co. stayed with the woman and waited for paramedics to arrive. On Twitter, Hogan added more info to the story, revealing that without a knife, he and his friend had to use a ballpoint pen to puncture the woman's airbag and free her. This was a scary situation that could have turned fatal if not for Hogan and his allies, and we're pleased that the Hulkster was on hand to help when needed. Ever since allegations came out regarding Chris Jericho, AEW has done all it can to ensure that this matter isn't addressed on TV. From pumping in fake cheers to drowning out boos with Jericho's music, AEW is holding nothing back, or rather, they're holding back items that belong to the fans. The January 13th, 2024 edition of AEW Collision emanated from the Chartway Arena in Norfolk, Virginia, where Chris Jericho was also featured on the show in a backstage promo segment. On Twitter, Brian Last showed off a set of instructions given to those at the arena, making clear that signs about Jericho that cast him in a negative light were banned. Any sign that referenced Kylie Rae would also be confiscated, and Light added that signs referencing CM Punk were also taken from the hands of fans. On Twitter, Jericho broke a notable social media silence for himself when he tweeted, "You can't soar with the Eagles if you surround yourself with turkeys," and would pin the tweet to his wall. Expecting that the comments would be flooded about messages regarding the allegations, though, Jericho disabled the comments, keeping fans from talking about Kylie Rae or any NDAs. Tony Khan has said he won't comment on the rumors, but AEW has a strict policy when it comes to harassment. But for now, Chris Jericho remains in a negative light to countless fans. During a recent WWE NXT live event, Cora Jade suffered an injury, and during an episode of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer confirmed that she suffered a torn ACL. The standard recovery time for a torn ACL ranges from 6 to 9 months. If surgical intervention is necessary, but she could be back sooner if she doesn't go under the knife. Athletes might need a slightly extended recovery period before obtaining medical approval to resume their activities, so it's possible that Jade could be back by July if surgery is required. Despite the injury, Jade appeared to be in good spirits at her birthday celebration on January 14th, though in all photos from the event, she seemed to be seated and didn't show her knee. Cora Jade only recently returned to NXT programming after months away and seemed poised to go for the NXT Women's title, and many have argued that she's already main roster ready. Now she's out of action once again, and her injury is just the latest of several to befall young NXT talent training at the Performance Center. On his show, Meltzer pointed out that there have been ongoing concerns about the training methods in NXT, with wrestlers questioning whether intense training regimens are contributing to injuries. Meltzer cited examples of other female wrestlers like Sol Ruca, Wendy Chu, Nikita Lyons, and Tegan Knox, all of whom have also suffered torn ACLs in NXT. He added that while rigorous training is beneficial for conditioning, it shouldn't result in a number of injuries, and WWE needs to find the right balance between conditioning and injury prevention. Meltzer acknowledged that NXT employs legitimate strength and conditioning coaches, but they may need to reassess their methods to reduce the risk of injuries, especially torn ACLs. WWE has often touted their Performance Center as a state-of-the-art venue, but their training could do with some work. And do you agree with Meltzer's comments? Let us know down below. For as great as Roman Reigns has been as the Tribal Chief, fans haven't enjoyed his very relaxed schedule, which often sees months go by without a match from the Universal Champion. Well, those fans can expect that to continue, as on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer confirmed that Reigns isn't booked for next month's Elimination Chamber event, nor Backlash France. After Reigns' match at the Royal Rumble, his next match will likely be WrestleMania 40, leaving fans with a 2-month window of February and March without the head of the table in action. From the moment CM Punk returned to WWE at Survivor Series, there have been talks as to whether WWE were right to rehire him, or will he simply bring the chaos fans saw from him in AEW. Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre have made their views on Punk abundantly clear on WWE programming, and now Jinder Mahal has weighed into the matter. While speaking with WWE India on their Instagram page, Jinder was asked for his take on the Best in the World and admitted to having mixed feelings over Punk's return. He said, "I have mixed emotions. The fan in me is excited for CM Punk's return. I'm excited for the matches, I'm excited to get in the ring with CM Punk. But I do see Seth's point because I was there when CM Punk was in WWE the last time, and Seth also has a point. But nonetheless, let's see what CM Punk does. Let's see his attitude, let's see his reaction. Let's see if he offers up the opportunities to younger superstars. Let's see. Overall, I'm excited, but I can see Seth's point. But at the same time, we have a new generation of fans. Some people watching haven't seen CM Punk before, and this is the first time they're seeing CM Punk. But CM Punk is one of the all-time greats, and I'm curious to see if he still has it. So let's find out." Punk has instantly become one of Raw's most featured stars since his return, but is he doomed to eventually burn out like we saw in his first WWE run and in AEW? Time will tell. More from Raw as Xavier Woods made his return to action with an impromptu match with Ludwig Kaiser, which led to a huge brawl that resulted in one of the men busted open. Raw also saw the return of Gunther, and it was Ludwig Kaiser who did the introduction for the Intercontinental Champion, and they were confronted by Woods in their segment. Xavier was furious about the beating Kaiser gave Kofi Kingston last week and challenged the German, and during the match, Woods hit Kaiser with several chops and strikes in the corner. Ludwig took the latter out with a wicked clothesline and pounded him on the mat before choking Woods after pushing him off the turnbuckles. The New Day star fought back with a ringside dropkick, and as the two brawled on the floor, Woods hit Kaiser with a chair, ending the match in a DQ win for the Imperium member. Woods wasn't done, however, as he went for another chair shot, but was met with an enziguri that led to the former King of the Ring bleeding from the mouth, but that didn't stop him. Woods hit Kaiser with a Meteora and tried to hit him with the step, but the latter escaped through the crowd, though the pair wouldn't be wholly done just yet. A backstage assault by Kaiser on Woods, interrupted by Jey Uso, planted the seeds for Uso to be the one to challenge and potentially defeat Gunther at WrestleMania, which should have fans excited. The women's tag team division continues to suffer from abbreviated TV time on Raw, as seen with Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell's win over Chelsea Green and Piper Niven in a sprint of a match. The action was solid, albeit rushed, but the Lion Salt finisher from LeRae to Green was a nice change of pace and gave the babyfaces an unexpected win. This win will only intensify the issues between Green and Adam Pearce, which always makes for excellent programming. Akira Tozawa and Ivar wrote the latest chapter in their rivalry with a rematch of their Christmas week match, but this time, it was Tozawa who got the win. Despite being overwhelmed with Ivar's size and strength, Tozawa benefited from a distraction from Maxine Dupree and scored the win off a sunset flip powerbomb from the middle rope. After the match, Valhalla attacked Dupree, and the heels stood tall to close things out, suggesting this story isn't over just yet. In women's tag team action, Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark defeated Tegan Nox and Natalya, continuing the heels' momentum towards a tag title shot. The idea that Kaden Carter and Katana Chance would have any shot at actually retaining against the physical duo is laughable, so Triple H will have to come up with something to make the champs seem credible. And that was Raw. And what did you make of the show? Let us know down below.